They hit the line. Big Orange on the far side. And Poet's Word is edging ahead and won it.
Rebels Romance wins the turf.
James, everyone knows that you're great friends with William Buick. I thought I'd just ask him how he would describe you and hoped for something elaborate, and all he wrote was a gentleman. But that's kind of, I think, how everyone looks at you. Are you a gentleman?
Well, I guess so. Not all the time, but no, I guess so. Well, William's very brief with his words, you know that.
Yeah.
So, no, it's nice of him to say that.
Is there a James Doyle that we don't see?
I would say so, yeah. There's days that races or days that don't go so well that you would see a different side to me. Yeah, it's hard. Look, it's great when everything's going easy and everyone's happy, aren't they? But sadly, racing, that's not always the case, is it? You have to have the bad days to have the ups, and yeah, I can get pretty annoyed and frustrated.
So I think I've seen this once, and you came back in after a race, and I looked at you and I genuinely thought there was something wrong. And so I said to you, "You're right, James," and you looked at me as if you just literally wanted to wipe me off the face of the earth. And that was it. That, for me, was the ferocious sportsman that doesn't come out of the gentleman that we see.
Yeah,
I mean, you were fuming.
I remember that day,
fuming.
and I just kind of walked off. I was just walking off the track. I might have even still been on the track. And of course, in that moment, of course, you should be allowed to feel the way I guess I did that day. But you know, back in the weighing room, another next race is a new race, isn't it? And you have to move on.
Noble Mission digging in. The Champion Stakes in the balance. Noble Mission clinging on narrowly. Noble Mission has won the Champion Stakes. A punch of the air. Lady Cecil and James Doyle.
Barney Roy on the near side now has moved through to Lancaster Bomber. Barney Roy in front as they race for the shadows, the post. And Barney Roy wins the St James's Palace Estates for Godolphin.
Ballymount Boy's been forced to switch, but he is running on quite powerfully down the centre. Ballymount Boy, who's coming home the stronger here, got out of trouble, got through to win.
You've dominated the Middle East. Prince Khalid Abdullah, Sheikh Mohammed, and now Qatar. Now, there's no jockey who has ever managed to create something with those three superpowers like you have done.
Well, I think, yeah, I'd like to think I've been solid through my years, although, you know, my life as a jockey has changed on a number of occasions, but I feel like I've kept consistent in my mind. Obviously, when things haven't gone so well, I've tried to stay calm and focused, and I think I'm like that day to day. Even, you know, I think obviously the big days are so important, but I think it's still vital to be pretty level-headed and not to get too high and too low. And I've been working with Charlie Appleby for 10 years, and I think he's a great advocate of that. He's never too high or too low. He just tries to keep everything, you know, on a similar level. When I mean solid, I just mean mentally, just try and keep very stable, maybe.
Do you go out thinking, I'm James Doyle, I can make a difference here?
Absolutely, yeah, of course. And you have to think like that, you know, you have to think you're the best and have that confidence. If you don't have that, then, you know, it definitely puts you on the back foot, of course.
So James, Royal Ascot just around the corner, but it's 10 years since you won the St James's Palace Stakes on Kingman, and I thought, with the big meeting so close now, it would be nice to take you back to see the great King, who was just terrific for you.
Oh, he was, yeah. I was so lucky to come across a horse like Kingman so early, you know, just breaking through to that top level. Looking back, mad to think it was 10 years ago, but I had some magical days on Kingman. Every jockey's dream to ride a horse like Kingman, and it's great to see him. I haven't seen him for a number of years. Looks great, doesn't he? A little big boy.
Here he is.
Hey, buddy. Looks great, doesn't he? Well, he's just everything. He was everything you want in a racehorse as a jockey. Like he had a super temperament. Nothing fazed him. You know, he ran on some super big days and Royal Ascot and the Irish Guineas and things like that, and nothing fazed him whatsoever. He was just cool as a cucumber. He didn't waste any energy in the prelims or going to the start. And he's just so relaxed in the race. You think they tried everything to get him beat, and you know his rivals. I remember riding him in the Sussex, and I thought Tormore would be the obvious leader, and Ryan hooked up out the gate, and Night Thunder ended up leading, and his turn of foot was just exceptional. It's been, yeah, it'd be great to find another horse like him, but sadly they're very rare.
In that St James's Palace, you just came there swinging. It was almost a chance to show off.
Yeah, it was a bit of redemption for us, really. Obviously the Guineas was a bit of a mess with the field splitting and going either side, so it was a very difficult race to judge. So to come back and beat the horse that beat us in the Guineas by a good margin and do it in the style he did, it was a great thrill.
Kingman now and James Doyle have shot through to the lead and he goes clear. Kingman has won it in great style. Night of Thunder in second.
And of course, such is his production rate now that you end up riding Kingman from time to time. It must be great to be at that stage where you've ridden a fabulous horse but now can ride the offspring.
Yeah, absolutely, of course it is. And he's proven to be an exceptional stallion. He's changed a bit since I rode him one time. But no, he looks incredible, doesn't he? He looks like a super athlete even now, doesn't he? His quality, not easy to find.
How are you personally in defeat? Because if you did write a book, you'd have two races that would have a chapter on defeats. One would be the Great Kingman, who we've seen in the 2000 Guineas, and the other would be Sea of Class in the Arc.
Yeah, of course.
Let's just start with the Kingman defeat. That really hurt, didn't it, the 2000 Guineas?
It did, because I didn't feel that we had a kind of true crack at the whip. I mean, we won the Greenham by 3 lengths, 4 lengths, beating Night of Thunder on the bridle, then went to Newmarket, and then suddenly the field split. I was drawn, you know, towards that far side and ended up getting dragged over there. I remember thinking at halfway, this is not ideal. There's not really much you can do about it. And, you know, of course, if I could have gone back and ridden that race a few times, I would have tried a few different things, and I'm sure the result would have been a bit different. But it was nice to go to the St James's Palace and really prove what he could do.
If that hurt, I feel that Sea of Glass hurt more in the Arc.
Here's Sea of Class in the yellow down the outside. She's flying at Enable and Frankie Dettori, who have the lead. They come towards the line. Enable, she's done it just.
Yeah, I guess it was the thing with Sea of Class's race. She you had to hold her up. She was, if you engaged her early in the race, she'd do too much. You had to really reserve her energy, and there was a few different factors. Obviously the draw came out and we got the wide post, and I remember thinking that's not ideal. And the quantity of runners, of course they have to take their chances. It's one of the best races in Europe, so everyone is entitled to line up. But the amount of runners that year that shouldn't have been in the race, really, and of course they're naturally going to be in front of me, you know, jumping out from a wide draw, having to take my time. Naturally those runners without a chance would be in front of me, and it really did put us at a disadvantage. But I remember we did a few interviews about it shortly afterwards, and I remember being quite frustrated by other people's comments on what I should have done differently. There's no one more frustrated than myself, I can tell you that. But when you know the horse inside out and you know her run style, she had to wait, conserve energy. I think people were thinking I could just jump and maybe do a Frankie on Golden Horn, let her float up the outside and get across, but she wasn't the type of horse to ride that way. We had a game plan, we had to stick to the game plan. We knew that would be what would show, you know, her to the best of her ability, and we knew we just needed a hell of a lot of luck. I mean, I remember getting the gap and the German horse in front of me, because William was on it actually, just rolled out as I was really flying, and I think even small things like that, if that hadn't happened, we'd have got there, you know. So yeah, it's everyone was fully understanding, but it's still heartbreaking to get so close.
And coming back to you, what do you do that evening?
Obviously you reflect and you keep running through the race in your mind, but it's done. There's not much you can change about it.
Do you read social media?
No, the social media thing, there's no point in reading that, because obviously I mean, I had people telling me it was the abuse I was getting on social media, but you just have to put it to the back of your mind. What use is that going to do me reading everyone's comments?
Let's go back to the start, because we know Mum, Jacqueline, trainer, and very much got you going. You were going to be, you and Soph, you were both working in your mum's yard, basically from about 3 or something. Right?
Yeah, of course. No, we were a big team. Mum predominantly trained jumpers back then, and it was only when my sister and I started showing an interest and wanted to ride in races, she kind of switched to training more predominantly flat horses, which she probably regrets really in hindsight. But she was a big, massive help to my sister and I. You know, we learnt everything. We've got a lot to thank my mother for.
Proper riding, like.
Yeah, she was tough now. She was tough taskmaster. I remember riding work with her one day, and this horse was pulling a bit with me, and I had my hands up, and I remember her pulling her whip out and tapping me over the knuckles to make sure my hands were down. So yeah, she was tough.
Lord North in the blue and white now. He's shot through from the back of the field with James Doyle. Surges through to the lead, and it's Lord North who now begins to clear away. Another superstar here. Lord North wins by 3 or 4 lengths.
When he was 14, he said to me, I only want to be a jockey if I can be world class. And his hero at the time actually was Kieran Fallon.
I think we were both just very competitive, and actually when we rode in England together, the two of us didn't actually get to ride against each other very often. The only time though, I remember Mum had a horse called Someda that I was supposed to ride, and I took the horse out hunting and he got an injury while we were out hunting. Mommy. So I was ready to ride when he came back, and Mum went and put James on him as his first amateur ride.
He rode him at Goodwood in this amateur race. Anyway, when he came back in, he didn't have a whip. So I said to him as we were unsaddling, what happened to your whip, James? Well, Mum, he said, he gave me this great big explanation. I pulled it out to use it, and another jockey just knocked it straight out of my hands. So we went back and watched the video, and that was not what happened at all. He pulled his stick out, lifted it up in the air and just dropped it. He got a lot of gentle abuse off of all the family and all his friends, because he had spent his entire life walking around the house, or when we were out in restaurants or at the races, with always something in his hand that resembled a riding stick. And he would practice twirling it and flicking people with it. And he got never without it, beating up the side of our sofa at home, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Riding finishes to the races on the TV. But, so then when he came to the first ever time, he dropped it.
Your early career, there's an image out there that it was a total disaster and you were going to give up. But it wasn't really, was it? You were banging in 50, 60 winners early in your career.
Yeah, obviously started very well. I think 70 odd winners in my first year and 50 in my second year, and and then it just became tough. Like it's hard when all I kind of dreamed about was being a jockey, but being a good jockey, and suddenly I found myself riding 20 odd winners a year. It doesn't mean you're a bad jockey, but at the end of the day, I kind of purchased a house when I was quite young, and financial pressures, really. I loved doing what I was doing, but it became crazy driving 4 hours to ride one horse up at Beverley and then driving home and doing it all again the next day. It just didn't seem to me to be making sense. So, you know, I gently touched on the idea or sought advice on what other things would likely be available to me, and then suddenly this whole plumbing thing went crazy.
And then this stupid idea came out, and it was a stupid idea, about being a plumber, because there was no danger in the world of James Doyle ever being a plumber. Never at all. I
don't think he's even fixed a leak in the sink.
No, he couldn't. James couldn't. I put a plug in. It's about as near to in the sink is all as near to James to get being a plumber. He did book on a course with the PJA or through them, but it gave him a light at the end of that tunnel, and he knew the date that course started, and I knew there was no danger of him going on it. And literally, about 2 weeks before the course was starting, he rode 11 winners in 9 days. From not one winner. He hadn't had a winner for 70-something rides, and he rode 11 winners in 9 days. And as that course date loomed up, he suddenly changed, and he just couldn't stop riding winners, and that he never looked back after that.
I think sometimes when it does get a bit hard, they realise it doesn't always come as easy as it does when the days are going very easy and smooth. When you realise you've really got to put the work in, you realise to be at the top of your game and be a champion rider, you have to put in the extra effort. You've got to go that extra mile, and when you do that, you know, the rewards come your way.
Cityscape was promising horse on the world stage, and you win. That feeling as you cross that line, when you consider that it wasn't so long ago that you'd gone to Jets, etc., and said, what else could I do? That feeling that day is what?
Oh, it's just magical. Absolutely magical. The race couldn't have gone any better, lovely and smooth, and the way he quickened away, and it was just absolutely magical. I couldn't believe it. My mother was there that night, which was great to have her there, and yeah, it's hard to describe, but those moments, I know it's cliche, but you would love to be able to bottle them up and just pull them out every now and again, just to give yourself a lift.
Rebels Romance down the centre of the course has it. Rebels Romance wins the turf.
So from Juddmonte to Godolphin, how did that transition come?
I guess the global aspect, getting the chance to ride all around the world, America and Australia and things like that. I think that was the main sort of attraction.
I mean, the Caribus Cachet double, 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. Not many people have done that. What, 5 jockeys probably have done that?
1 of 5, yeah. I did see someone tweeted 1 of 5, but the only one to do it with a smile. So I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, that's hugely proud of that achievement. You think alongside the names like Ryan Moore, Kieran Fallon, Lester Piggott, incredible achievement.
But presumably behind the scenes that we don't see, you're probably becoming more and more frustrated as a person, because you're not now used to being a number 2 or picking up pieces, are you? You're one of the world's top jockeys who's had one of the world's top jobs.
Yeah, exactly. When you're lucky enough to win a number of top races around the world, it raises the bar, doesn't it? So that you judge your own, you know, what you want to achieve going forward off the success you've had. So you want to keep improving, and yeah, that's what we all strive to do, I guess.
And is that the appeal with Wathnan Racing, your new bosses? Is that what you see there, a vision that could turn from a small acorn into a big tree? Well,
that's it. It's the opportunity to have, you know, first call on a what, albeit small but select group of horses that we have at the minute, which is building week by week.
Royal Ascot's just around the corner. You've had some good days at Ascot. Let's just reflect on 2 or 3 of them. The Blue Point double.
Blue Point in front. Bashar's nearest to us, trying to get to it, but it's the same as last year. Blue Point. He says go on Blue Point. Blue Point strikes the front again at Royal Ascot. Blue Point all out. Blue Point near side. Blue Point.
Got a huge kick out of that. He was a fantastic horse, so fast, and really wore his heart on his sleeve. There's, you know, wished every horse could try as hard as he did. He put everything into his races, and I think that's a true testament to it, not just his ability, but the fact he could put everything in on a Tuesday and then come back on the Saturday and do it all again, arguably at a trip that was at certainly the top end of his petrol gauge, as I'm glad the line came when it did.
And Big Orange in the Ascot Gold Cup, I imagine that was kind of just great fun.
Big Orange buckling down, nose to nose, they hit the line, Big Orange on the far side.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I picked up the ride quite late. I remember texting Tim Gredley just saying, "Don't look at anyone else. I'm your man to ride him," and thankfully it worked out. But that was a great thrill. He was sort of a people's horse, wasn't he? Big Orange, real wear his heart on his sleeve. People love a stayer that comes back year after year, and the reception he got, I don't think I've quite felt a reception like that on any day racing. I don't think. It was real. I remember walking under the archway and the hairs on I know that's cliche again, but it really did get me, and I really enjoyed it.
Let's wrap up by just trying to find a little bit more about you, Doyle. Forget about Buick. You can't answer his name to any of these questions, okay? Buick is out of this now. If you had to go on an evening out with two other jockeys other than William Buick, who would you go on an evening out with?
Other than William? See, people get upset now because I'll name a couple, well, and then people will be left out.
5. Who are you?
I think my good Jamie Spencer, he's always good fun. Oisin Murphy, as we know, is a good character. Charlie Bishop, I've been long-standing friends with Charlie for a long time, and Rob Hornby.
He'd be a little bit crazy, wouldn't he, Charlie? A little bit?
No, he used to be in his younger years, but he's very sensible now. He's very sensible. But no, I've been good friends with Charlie for a long time. Rob Hornby as well, good mates.
Yeah, another crazy one. Yeah. Outside of Dubai, if you were on holiday, where would you go?
I've always liked Mauritius. I've been lucky enough to go to Mauritius for the Jockeys Challenge. I wouldn't like to ride there again, but to go there and have a holiday would be nice.
Saunas? Would you like one back?
Yes, absolutely. I can never understand the situation with saunas. Lads are having to stop and pay for rooms at hotels for a night just so they can use the bath on the way racing, and it just doesn't make much sense to me for a jockey to be dehydrated for such a long period of time when they could just, even if it's a couple of pounds, it doesn't take jockeys or anyone long to lose that in a sauna. So you can do it an hour before racing and you're dehydrated for no time at all. So yeah, it's very frustrating.
Okay, you've got a day where you're not allowed to do anything to do with horses or horse racing. What would you do?
If I had 2 days off, I'd maybe go get a good group of friends and go for lunch.
Right. Would that be quite
That's good fun,
lunch?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, and final question, because I genuinely don't know the answer to this. What have you planned for the future? Are we ever going to see James Doyle on a licence training?
No, I don't think training would be for me.
So what would be after riding for you? Do you ever think
about it? It's interesting. It's obviously, I'm at the stage of my career now where it is something that you consciously think about, and I'm yet to I've got a few ideas, not anything I want to mention, but I'm yet to really kind of go, oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I think most jockeys at my stage would probably tell you the same thing.